Have you ever wondered what it was like to fall in love with another Roman soldier? Although talk of sexuality is frequently omitted when talking about history, we can't deny the fact that homosexuality existed in ancient Rome. Specifically, love and relationships between Roman soldiers are at most pretty common. But why exactly is there little to no record of their stories? Well, it's not nearly as simple as gay versus straight, but rather a far more nuanced cultural perspective, where the acceptance or rejection of sexual activity was based upon the social standing of the individuals performing particular actions. And for Roman soldiers, being masculine was more than just a personality trait. In an empire where dominance over others is given so much importance, Roman soldiers are left with no choice but to be discreet and even keep their affection for one another. How did Roman soldiers overcome the stigma? Let's find out. Who are Roman soldiers? It's important that we understand how times have changed and that the definition of who these Roman soldiers are is different from how it used to be in the past. But for today's video, we are going to focus on ancient Rome and what it felt like to be a Roman soldier during that era. First and foremost, Roman troops were mainly male. While most of you might say that having a male-dominated troop is normal, there are actually some small details that you need to know. We will go over those one by one, but going back, the Roman soldiers also had to own land, or have a certain level of personal resources to purchase their own equipment. This was prior to the Marian reforms of 107 BCE, which made the Roman army a part-time endeavor instead of a full-time one. Things started to change after the reform. Men no longer needed lands or material possessions to enlist, and the new guarantee of citizenship for any Italian ally who enlisted in the legions led to the blending of a very wide variety of cultures into the Roman identity. Due to the empire's readiness to award citizenship to anyone and its further expansion into new nations after the Marian reforms, the face of the Roman soldier may have been fairly diverse. However, there were several characteristics that were sought after in potential recruits. One of the top characteristics a Roman soldier should possess is toughness and, of course, the courage to fight it all out in battle. While a person's gender or sexuality does not determine how a fighter can survive the battlefield, it's undeniable that during ancient Rome, there was a distinct social standard for what a man or woman should do. And if you decide to serve the empire as a soldier, it's expected that you possess the strength and manliness that society expects. Homosexuality among Roman soldiers. The soldiers' sexual interactions take precedence over the works of art and literature from ancient Rome. Many Romans believed that in order for these warriors to be strong and fearless in combat, they needed to engage in sexual activity. The word soldiers derives from the Latin word for swordsman. The tale of Priscus and Varys is one of the best-known tales of homosexuality among Roman soldiers. Two soldiers named Priscus and Varys fell in love while undergoing training at a school in Rome. Their love story gained so much notoriety that it was turned into a play that was presented to the Roman Emperor Nero. We will go over their interesting and heart-wrenching story in a while, but going back, Roman soldiers frequently appear in homoerotic artwork, which implies that homosexuality was not viewed as taboo or aberrant among these warriors. It was so prevalent that it was even portrayed in artwork intended for public exhibitions. It's important to remember that homosexuality among Roman soldiers included aspects of love and connection, in addition to physical intercourse. Numerous of these relationships were as committed, meaningful, and regarded favorably by society as any heterosexual union. According to some historians, homosexuality was viewed among soldiers as a method to forge close relationships and improve their chances of surviving in the arena. Not all Roman soldiers were homosexual, however. There are numerous accounts of soldiers who were prepared to put their lives in danger to save their lovers in the arena, despite the fact that many of them did indulge in same-sex relations. The story of Priscus and Varys. Their story is more than just their bravery and toughness on the battlefield. These two proved that even in times of death, love can prevail, and this is the reason why their story is passed from generation to generation. Priscus and Varys fought in the latter years of the 1st century AD. They are well known for their protracted battle in Rome's Flavian Amphitheater or Colosseum. Their brutal encounter probably attracted spectators because it was one of the earliest gladiatorial fights to take place in the renowned arena. The Roman poet Martial memorialized the conflict between the two warriors by describing it in his poem On the Public Shows of Domitian. The encounter between Priscus and Varys was so intense that, despite fighting with other warriors during the day, everyone was talking about them and how their battle was one of a kind. You can even say they outshined everyone else. However, their friendship became the talk of the town. But this friendship was put to the test the moment they stepped into the Colosseum, where they were instructed to fight until death in order to win their freedom. Spectators were looking forward to witnessing a brutal fight between the two strongest warriors at that time. But little did they know they were about to witness one of the purest bonds at that time. Both fighters were ultimately spared. While the audience applauded in admiration, Emperor Titus awarded both the rudis, a little wooden sword given to retired soldiers that stood for freedom. They both left the arena side by side as free men. Most people believe that the two were more than just buddies. There have even been rumors that they fell in love during training, which would account for their closeness. What is the punishment? Even though same-sex relationships among soldiers were very permissive in ancient Rome, going too far still carries a penalty. This is primarily due to the fact that Roman soldiers were expected to display restraint in sexual situations, just like any other free and honorable Roman male of standing. A campaigning officer with a male concubine was recorded in the Bellum Hispaniense, a book about Caesar's civil war. Due to incidents of this nature, Augustus even prohibited troops from getting married. For almost 200 years, the imperial army was subject to this prohibition. Additionally, it was against Roman tradition to have physical relations with other troops. They had customs that prohibited having intercourse with another freeborn male because the soldier upheld his manhood by forbidding others from using his body in a sensual manner. At the same time, soldiers were frequently discouraged from putting their bodies in danger because rape was considered a sign of loss in times of war. During the Republic, other soldiers who engaged in homosexual conduct were subject to harsh punishments, and at worst, they could be executed for having the same gender. A soldier who volunteered for penetration, according to Polybius from the 2nd century BC, would be put to death by the fustuarium or club. Those who abuse their power are also subject to punishment. Roman historians record cautionary tales of officials using their authority improperly to coerce soldiers into having an intercourse and then suffering dreadful consequences. In order to strengthen their masculine qualities, the newest officers were advised to forego perfume and shave their armpit and nostril hair, as they might still possess some of the childish allure that Romans appreciated in male-male interactions. An incident that Plutarch recounts in his biography of Marius serves as an example of a soldier's right to maintain his integrity in the face of pressure from his superiors. As the narrative was being written, Trebonius was an attractive young recruit who had been subjected to harassment by Gaius Lucius, his superior officer, and also Marius's nephew. Trebonius had avoided unwanted attention on numerous occasions until he was summoned to Lucius's tent one night. He was subjected to an assault, and unable to disobey his superior's commands, drew his blade to kill Lucius. Those who were found guilty of killing an officer were frequently executed, but Marius not only exonerated Trebonius for killing his relative, but also gave him a crown for heroism. This was despite the fact that he regularly had to fend off Lucius and had never prosecuted his body to anyone, despite offers of costly gifts. While not every story of love between Roman soldiers ended in a beautiful ending, there are still stories that are worth telling. How about you? Make sure to share your thoughts in the section below. Also, like and subscribe for more stories from history.